Welcome back, Only Playbook fans. We are back. That is right. It has been a hiatus after the season ended. Playoffs have been going on. People have been asking Shovit, where are you guys at? We want the playoff freaking information. We want to know what's been going on. But right after the fantasy football season ends, we like to take a little bit of a break and just kind of unwind, decompress, and really just enjoy football without having to talk about the fantasy side of it. And obviously, one of our best friends, Ayush, got married. So a lot of stuff going on in the works. But we're excited to be back. A lot of offseason stuff to talk about. So many changes in the NFL. Shovit, how are you feeling, man?
I'm feeling pretty good, man. Yeah, it's good to be back. You know, I think we need that 2 weeks break where we're not having to stay focused on fantasy football, latest news, and all that stuff. But now we're back. We've got the break out of the way, so we're ready to give that information out because there's a lot of stuff going on in the offseason that we need to talk about.
With that out of the way, the topic of the conversation is that the Super Bowl is 5 days away, Shovit. We're finally here. Super Bowl 58, the Chiefs and the 49ers. On paper, sounds like it's going to be an incredible matchup before the season. You know, probably two really kind of chalk picks, like two of the better teams in the NFL. Obviously, throughout the year, a lot of people wrote the Chiefs off because it wasn't one of their stronger seasons. But, you know, when you have the best quarterback of all time, it doesn't matter. So, obviously, here we are with the Chiefs 49ers. The Chiefs are underdogs currently in the Super Bowl. So, that's my first question to you is, what side do you lean, and why are you leaning one side versus the other?
Yeah, I lean the 49ers side. I think that they are the best offense in the NFL. I don't think Ravens would have been the second best offense in my opinion, but I think that what they have accomplished, like we talked about it, you know, 4 guys with over 1,000 yards on from receiving and a running back and all that, you know, stats that goes into it. But being able to come back like they have against the Lions, against the Packers, they can put up points. And they can put up points fast. And I think that although Kansas City's defense has been fairly good, mediocre in the regular seasons, but they've been really good during the postseason, that's going to come into a big test when you have to guard guys like Deebo Samuel, Ayuk, Kittle, CMC, and Brock Purdy is playing very well as well. So I think the line makes sense because I do think that the 49ers are the better team here.
Okay. All right. So I mean, I agree with you in a lot of those ways. I obviously they're more polished. They had a, you know, all season their offense clicked a lot more. Because again, we watched the Chiefs and we're like, man, something's missing. Man, they're not quite there. Rashee Rice came onto the scene late in the season. Travis Kelce kind of disappeared late in the season and then came back in the playoffs. So yes, it does seem like just the fluidity of the offense and the team as a whole, the 49ers are clicking. Now, my biggest fear with when we're playing these matchups is the most important position on the football field. Brock Purdy last week had I think he threw an interception, but I think he also had 2 that easily could have been interceptions. Yeah. So there were some very, very big misfires. Even the week before that, I don't think he threw an interception, but he had like 3 or 4 passes that should have been intercepted by the Packers that weren't. And I just don't think that margin of error exists in the Super Bowl, and especially against a player like Patrick Mahomes. So I agree. Everything else around Brock Purdy is elite, better than what the Chiefs have. But the Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes. And so it's like, would you rather have Patrick Mahomes throwing to you and me? Or would you rather have Brock Purdy, but throwing to like Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk? So that's where I'm a little flustered. I think I'm really, really eating this stupid Chiefs narrative with Taylor Swift and the NFL wanting it and blah, blah, blah. It's making me feel like, you know, there are going to be calls by the officials in the Super Bowl. That's going to happen, right? Good calls, bad calls, I don't know, but there will be calls. There will be penalties. So I worry that now that I've been watching the sport for so long, there is a world outside of just the actual sport on the field that can impact things. So I do have fears that outside factors can come into play for the Chiefs, certainly. But here's what I'll say. I think that the Chiefs defense blitz a lot. And I think that as long as which usually the 49ers do, they have a quick hitting offense, quick slants, quick screens, let your playmakers, you know, play in space. I think if that's how, like, if the Chiefs come out and they say we're still going to blitz like we do, I think the 49ers can absolutely eat that up. Dump off to CMC, bro, in routes to Deebo Samuel. It leads me into kind of what I really like in terms of bets, because the Chiefs are blitzing a lot. I really, really like George Kittle's receiving yards, 47 and a half. A lot of dump offs from Purdy to Kittle when the blitz is coming. He's the safety blanket. I think 47 and a half is just too little. And I do really, really like Kyle Juszczyk to get over a reception. Similar reasoning. Blitzes, quick dump offs, and Kyle Juszczyk had 3 targets last game. So he only needs to get 1 catch. It's the Super fucking Bowl. And he's like one of Kyle Shanahan's favorite players. It's a stupid narrative. There's no real statistics behind it, but it's also the Super Bowl. So weird things will happen. So I really like Kyle Juszczyk to have a catch. And then I already talked about it. It's like, think of all the years that we watched Super Bowls with Tom Brady there, right? And in all of every Super Bowl that Tom Brady was in, you probably went into the Super Bowl thinking that Tom Brady was going to win, because it doesn't make sense for the best player on the planet to ever be viewed as the team that has more likely a chance to lose than win. It's the same thing here, man. Patrick Mahomes is in the Super Bowl, and I'm just having a really, really hard time getting myself to bet against Patrick Mahomes, knowing that the quarterback on the other side, I mean, I don't really know what the hell he's going to do.
Yeah, I think that's fair, but you have to also remember Eli Manning won 2 Super Bowls against Tom Brady.
Yeah,
and so
crazy fucking catches by his receiver.
But and you know, it's just, by the way, I don't think that it's a lock for the 49ers to win, even though I think that they're going to be the better team. I think that there's going to be a lot of coaching, a lot of weird stuff going on. San Francisco 49ers also are not the best run defense team, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you have Pacheco being able to run the ball, they weren't able to do that in the season. Like, he wasn't getting great numbers, but touchdowns he was. But like, as far as the yards are concerned, I do like Isaiah Pacheco's rushing yards over 66 and a half. I think that they are a more balanced team, and they don't have the receivers. Rashee Rice is there, obviously Kelsey. MVS will probably be in the mix as well this game. But I think that Pacheco should. I like that bet to get 66 and a half this game, because I think that the game plan is going to be run the ball. But what I'm afraid of is the 49ers coming in hot, man. I'm afraid the 49ers come in, go up, 14-0. Kansas City is trying to play from behind. It becomes that like 2-score game all throughout the game, and Pacheco just doesn't get enough carries to get that 66 and a half. So I'm thinking this as a hedge. I think that if that case happens, I do want to take from the start. I want to take CMC's rushing attempts, 18 and a half. He had, I think, 19 last game. CMC is a focal point of that offense. If they're up ahead, I think they will continue giving the ball to CMC. So 18 and a half, although it may seem high, but 15 is the average, and 18 and a half CMC, like, that's definitely doable. And that makes me feel better about that Pacheco bet not going into fruition if they don't get it, if they're down early. Going into Pacheco, right? Like, I was talking about how the 49ers run defense isn't that great. The Packers and Lions combined to rush 57 times for 318 yards, which is 5.6 yards per carry against the 49ers, right? So Pacheco, Roadrunner. I mean, the guy's electric. He looks like he's a Chihuahua running the ball. So I think that it's going to bode well for him. If that game script continues, like I think where the 49ers aren't up, it's a close game all throughout, then Pacheco should get that 66 and a half rushing yards.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think I agree with you as well on that. I think it's going to be a running game. The thing that's tricky is, like you said, you're doing a good job of hedging both sides. Game script's going to be important here, because I really did. There were 2 other props that I looked at immediately when the Super Bowl, when it kicked off. It was Patrick Mahomes rushing yards, because that he's all about scrambling when the lights shine brightest, right? Especially in the playoffs, anytime you need to make a play, he's scrambling, he's using his legs. But let's say the Chiefs go up early and it's a Pacheco game where they're feeding the football to Pacheco. Mahomes may not have to run the football. And my other thing that I really like is the 49ers came into this season, obviously last year, Debo being the Swiss Army knife. They haven't run the ball with Debo as much this year as they did in years past. Now, it's the Super Bowl. There is nothing that you're going to leave, unturned. Right. There's no plays that you're not going to be like, this was our best play in the playbook, we're not going to use it. I think Deebo Samuel will run the football a little bit more than he did all year. And it could be like only 2 or 3 times, but I think his rushing props at like 15 and a half or 16 and a half yards. I just think that's such a big weapon for that team, and they didn't have to rely on it as much this season, but it's the Super Bowl. Like, again, you got to leave everything on the table on the football field. So I do like that as well.
Yeah, I mean, if they're playing CMC, like putting the gaps with the linebackers. If it's, hey, let's stop CMC, then a nice little run run to Debo Samuel coming from the from our wide
Receiver.
receiver
Yeah.
position, whatever that's called. When he like runs
End
from one
around.
side to the
Yeah.
other, end
Yeah.
around, look
Yeah.
to Debo Samuel might just get you that 15 yards. So I like that as well, along
Yeah.
with the Kyle Juszczyk one, because
Yeah.
when he
One
gets his
catch.
catches, dude. How hype would you be after Juszczyk gets like one
Oh,
catch?
dude, I'm gonna be so hype. I might just make that my only bet, and just for the whole game, I just have to sit there and hope the fullback catches one pass. Like, don't care about anything else. Touchdowns are flying. I'm like, don't care. Use check, catch the pass. That's the craziest thing when you're betting, bro. Like, what you're betting on can be so like, if I'm betting on field goals and I'm just like sitting there watching Mahomes dot to Rashee Rice, and then I watch Purdy dot to Debo, and I'm not enjoying the Super Bowl,
Whatever.
like whatever. But no, I definitely think I'm going to take that. And lastly, I do think I'm also going to take Brock Purdy over 0.5 interceptions, because I do think he's going to throw an interception. I just think the playoffs have been a little bit rockier for him. The pressure's there. It's the freaking Super Bowl. He can still have a great game and throw one interception. So I like over 0.5 interceptions.
Sometimes his throws, man, they just look like they're not on target. They're over the player's head. Like he's prone to making those kind of mistakes, and they haven't hurt him. But maybe now with the Chiefs defense and their secondary that they play, they're just very like very, what is it, cryptic or disguising. So that may very well happen as well. So
it's a good matchup. The last thing I'll say about the Kittle yards is it's also a good matchup for him, because it's not as great of a matchup for the receivers. You have L'Jarius Sneed, who's going to probably shadow Brandon Ayuk, right? He's one of the biggest shadowing cornerbacks in the NFL, and he's really good. And then in the slot, you have Trent McDuffie, who is one of the best slot cornerbacks in the NFL. And so if Ayuk gets shadowed by L'Jarius on the outside, Debo, oftentimes, if he's in the slot or not, you already have a second good cornerback there. I just think that's going to open up everything for George Kittle.
Yeah. What about on the other side, the tight end Kelsey, who might propose to Taylor Swift if he becomes the MVP? He proposes, gets on his knees, and Taylor Swift like, oh my God, it's a love story.
I mean, baby, just say it. She sings the whole fucking song. Dude, I want to hedge all of these bets just for that narrative. I want to hedge with like every Chiefs bet possible. Travis Kelce touchdown, Travis Kelce 100 yards. He came out and said, I want this one. I want this one so bad. I want it worse than I've wanted anything. Taylor Swift just came off winning a Grammy, I believe. So Kelsey's like, fuck, I got to bring home the hardware too. Like, there's a lot of pressure that doesn't have to do with football that's making me like eat into the narrative and want to place bets and make decisions based on that. Because I do believe in that as well. But it's hard to be analytical about that. That's just way more emotional than me.
Yeah, his yards prop, I think, was like at 70.5. So that's a little bit high. I think he got like 90 yards last week, I believe. But maybe it's anytime touchdown. I haven't seen what the juice on that is yet, but that might be one to kind of look into.
It might be one where we both just need to sprinkle on it, because it's the inevitable. Like, if we're gonna have to celebrate with the Swift, like if the Swifties are gonna celebrate, let's at least figure out a way where we can celebrate with them, right? So let's bet Travis Kelce touchdown, so that when that happens and they're showing Taylor Swift for 6 hours, we're happy as well. And So I don't know, man. Will he propose? Will he dump her? I hope that Taylor Swift's not the story and the headline of the Super Bowl. I hope the Super Bowl is the headline of the Super Bowl. But that is all I have, Showbit. Do you have anything else before this is the end of this episode, and we can't talk about football until the Super Bowl's over?
All right, gun to your head. You got to pick one. Who are you picking?
Patrick Mahomes. I'm taking the Chiefs. What about you?
Gun to my head, I'm taking the Chiefs.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it's like, if I'm gonna die, am I gonna die holding out hope from Brock Purdy, or am I gonna die potentially being like, hey, save me, Patrick Mahomes? I'm obviously gonna take Mahomes. Like, it's just the reality. I don't know who's gonna win. I hope it's a fucking great game. I hope it lives up to every Super Bowl in the past. But there's just so many storylines that I think would be really, really interesting. Depending on which way it plays out. So I'm hopeful for Kyle Shanahan. I want to see him win a Super Bowl. Like, the 49ers have been really close a couple of times and just haven't quite got it done. Chiefs have obviously already been there. They've already done it. Like, they don't have anything more to prove. So, that part of me really, really leans in and roots for the 49ers. Like, it'd be cool to see CMC get a Super Bowl. It'd be cool to see Debo and Kittle and them get a Super Bowl. But at the same time, Mahomes is Mahomes, and Mahomes. Taylor Swift runs the fucking world. So that's where we're at, man. That is it for another fantastic episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. It is amazing to be back. Can't wait to watch the Super Bowl and then break it down next week. We have other fun episodes coming. We recorded our Jeopardy annual episode that we're going to post as well, just to kind of, shoot the shit and see what we forgot already about the fantasy football season. And then draft season's upon us, Shovit. So a lot of what I'll be doing is breaking down prospects, top 5 rankings on TikTok. So make sure you're following us on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the like, hit the subscribe. It helps spread the word. You can listen to us on any podcast platform that you listen to your podcast at. I am Sweetcart. That is Shovit. We are the only playbook. Have a fantastic week. Happy Super Bowl 58. See you guys.